making it to day 2 of the mid-set finale. So Bryce, Frodan, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you very much, Casanova. Great job, day 1. Give him some love in the chat or whether it's on social media. Casanova, of course, our lovely host. Welcome to the finale of day 1. We have Game 6, Lobby D. We're hopping on board with Sox, one of the players that Bryce has mentioned is on that bubble. And boy, was that a close one. If you were watching his game previously, you saw how he needed that first place in order to be back in contention. And as a result, has tied his entire practice group. Goobums and Asa, all at 21 points, tied for 18th.
Yeah, the study group, as I often refer to them, 3 of the best players in North American teamfight tactics, all of whom were expected to make deep runs in this tournament, all of whom are still alive, but have their tournament lives in their own hands in this game. They all will need to have good performances in game number 6 in order to be able to advance tomorrow. Sox is the one we have in this Lobby D, and he's got a decent opening. He starts Belt, which I think is his preferred starting item, very flexible defensive component. And he also gets a Karma pair. There's a Taric in his shop as well that I have no doubt he's going to find his way into buying. Nice, he gets extra gold so he can hold the Senna pair as well.
Yeah, and when you're in this spot, the mentality here for Sox is what I'm really curious about. Is he going to try to play a much more safe style? Is he going to be trying to go for broke, right? Trying to see if I want to get to that top 2, top 3 so I can guarantee my spot in. We'll see. We'll have to figure out what Sox's early game is looking like. He did sell both of the 3 costs. Silas is a little bit more on the questionable side, but if you look at what he's saving for, that makes sense given that, oh my god, he's got a gold star completely. Okay, so he's going to start himself very open and has a couple of very fascinating choices here at 2-1.
Yeah, I think a lot of players would, because they made gold and they know they're going to be in a weaker board state, take Metabolic Accelerator here, lean into Lost Streak. But Sox is not a player that prefers to play Lost Streak. He grabs that Guild Crest. We have seen multiple Guild Flex lines work out so far today. I like that Sox is leaning into his comfort style. If we had, Milk in this situation, I can be very confident what augment we were selecting and the style of game we're going, but that's just not who Sox is as a player.
Totally, and of course it depends on a couple of pieces of context. What is the Mirage? It is Pirate's Greed. So an economic focused trait, so less options to open for it. So when we see people choose to lose streak a lot in stage 2, they often are thinking about what's the Mirage, because that's a really strong comeback comp. So it goes up against a Lilia 2. Whose board is this? This is crazy strong. At this interval of the game, there's just no way anybody can deal with a Lilia 2. There's no Scale Scorn active, so the damage isn't outrageous. Oh, of course, it's Pockygom, one of the pioneers of Scale Scorn in North America, a player who has all but punched his ticket. And yet, despite that, it feels like Pockygom still isn't getting the respect that he deserves, Bryce, when we talk to some of the other NA players.
Yeah, in particular, he's not getting respect from the top players in North America. We spend a ton of time talking with all the top players, and Pocky is someone that people are like, yeah, I mean, he's good, he's whatever, but I strongly disagree with that POV. I think Pocky should be in the conversation for top 5 players in North America whenever he is in form, and while he took last set off, and it took him a little bit to ramp back up into this set, he is absolutely cresting right now, starting to get back into form, and it is very fun to see because he is such a strong player, and he has so much fun while he's playing TFT. It's just really great to see. Joining Milala, another player that's on the come-up, although has never really been there before. He is technically still alive at 19 points. If he gets a first place here, that would get him to the 27-point threshold, which means that his fate would likely be in the hands of tiebreakers.
All right, well, we'll see if whether or not Milala can make that comeback, or I have to change my green screen background. One of these two things is going to happen. Milala does end up going for a better together on set 2. A very nice way to keep his streak. Milala player is pretty open in flex. I wonder with his better together if he's going to be valuing the trainer line into the stacked Namzi carry. You build a bunch of Chalice of Power, Zeeks, Lockets. Probably not more than 1, to be honest, because you only have so many items resources that you can have. And then in the late game, you play the Siphon and the Silas Mages in order to get that support structure around Namzi, and then watch Namzi one-shot teams even if they're not prepared for it. However, it feels like that build's been inconsistent. We've seen some people get some nice wins with it, like Emily Wang, but we've also seen some players attempt to open it, and as a result, can't get things rolling and go bottom 2. Which version of that composition is going to show up? I like it for a first race strategy. I think that comp has first place potential. So at least the macro, I agree here with milala so far.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it has nice first place potential. Having a nice start to this game could be really, really impactful. Obviously, very capable of winning games from behind, but if you can get the trainer rolling early like milala has, and you can get the win streak going, that is a position to be able to top 1 a lobby. So things are looking good for milala so far. He also gets to hold this Silas, which kind of bridges a lot of this tree together. Oftentimes you play around Bruiser frontline, you play around mages, so it's really, really good. Wow, there's actually a Silas with a spat on the carousel, so very high priority unit, I would expect.
Look at the augments of choice. Bertasaurus does have that spatula taken early. See what we can be able to utilize alongside that metabolic accelerator. Kurumx also has an open spat, at least we don't see what he actually has made off of it. And then a lot of economy / tempo augments. So pretty generic stuff. Nothing particularly too outstanding. The one thing I do have a question is that Clear did take True Twos and then Lost Streak. That's actually quite rare of an occurrence. True Twos is supposed to give you a very strong stage 2. So either Clear has clearly gotten a very bad situation where it was very clear that he just had to sell his units for gold, or that stage 2 has just kind of been a disaster. It's one or the other.
Yeah, one or the other. Clear should be okay at 26 points. We'll have to check in, but if he were to go 8th in this game, that would put him at the 27-point threshold, which would feel so bad because Clear really basically just needs to avoid 8th to advance to tomorrow. Sticking with milala, was able to complete that Zeke, so much extra value with the better together, so this is just a really, really good spot. All of the itemization for milala is just so strong. Going against bossoskills, who's been losing more, playing a rich get richer, econ-oriented style, has an extra level on him, and it looks like he should be able to take care of business. So 4 out of 5 fights down for milala, the final huge one coming up for him, though.
Yeah, if it's Pockygom as well, Pocky has the Bloodthirster and the Hand of Justice onto a 2-star Lilia. What can he really make happen here? Is this his best board potential? He could theoretically play another Cannoneer over this Twitch, reduce the amount of guild bonus, instead lean more into the Cannoneer aspect of things. It's kind of tight, though, either way. No matter how you slice it, it's going to be kind of tricky here for milala to guarantee anything. And that's assuming he's even playing as Pockygom. Sometimes if you over-index for one of the other streakers, you might incidentally make yourself more susceptible to another player, and this is one of them, tacobell Wi-Fi, who also is gearing up for a trainer start here with the 3 trainer 2 bruiser.
Yeah, 3 trainer and these really powerful early game tempo items slammed in the Ionic Spark plus the Sunfire Cape, probably the 2 strongest items in the game early on, but it looks like milala is going to be able to take care of business. Really important win for him, as we were talking about, able to get through that Tom Kench and get that big 5 streak going to snowball his economy early. There's also a lot of potential power there with that Jinx pair plus that Centipede pair on the bench. So if you need to get a first in a lobby, obviously we're a long way from getting there, but stage 2 has gone about as well as you could ask for under the circumstances.
Speaking of stage 2 and the circumstances, Clear did sell his early game off that True Twos. Instead, it became a Varus option. Now, Clear is kind of a notorious one-trick style player. He's not only playing one comp the entire set, but he does have ability to tunnel onto a comp and try to refine it and push for rank 1, or bust out of tournaments and put it all on the line for it. It makes him actually kind of an exciting player to watch in some respect, because you don't know if his strategy is good or bad, and also it inspires players to potentially look at comps that are underplayed, because Clear tends to go in the opposite direction. In this case, loves Varus reroll, loves Astro. He's been playing it for a good amount of the set, and it seems like when all he has to do is cruise in, he's going to try to see if he can make this Varus work one more time.
Yeah, and he gets pretty good items here. I mean, oftentimes you go for the Runin's Hurricane onto Varus. Be interesting to see if he's willing to slam this Giant Slayer, if he thinks that's enough damage here. He does have an extra bow he has to kill. He could also just go for the Zizirot straight away and just say, hey, it's a good generic frontline item. I need stall for this Varus to ramp. And it depends on how highly he values what is considered the best in-slot Varus, which does involve that Runin's Hurricane and typically a Death Blade as your final item, unless you can get some major AD power from one of your augment selections. Looks like he's choosing not to slam, actually. He's going to spread items, probably looking to get a cyber augment on 3-2, if at all possible.
Yeah, and these are units that aren't going to really be staying around like Shen anyways, so I think that's perfectly valid, as he does get a win versus bossoskills. And this is actually going to... Oh, actually, I apologize. I had the POVs completely reversed. It's going to take another loss, but he can't take too many more losses around this caliber. So let's see how his 3-2 augment's going to shape up, plus the roll down.
Interesting. I think all three of these are theoretically pickable. His components are so good that Pandora items feels a little bit lower value. Ops into Cyber, which is really good. We talked about needing that AD power from his augment. That's one way of getting there. This is the spot in the game where he needs to roll down and get stable. He's down at 56 HP. He's not hitting basically any of the units he's looking for. These Astral Shops are not working out very well at all, so this is not looking promising. There we go. We hit the Varus 2. He hasn't found any copies of Alawi yet, which is wild. Still no copies of Alawi. Wow. This is so unfortunate for him. And we said his spot was basically don't go 8th. And while I'm not saying that 8th is on the horizon for this spot, it feels very much in play. Whereas if he had hit his upgraded Alawi as part of this roll down, he would probably be stable, and it's tougher to go 8th.
You can see potentially why that is. Another player who's just rolling hard down is Kurumx, contesting similar units. And that's also one of the downsides of playing this Astral comp, which is if you end up being contested for the units, it's going to be that much more difficult to stabilize around the usual intervals. As Kurumx does end up losing that front line. I don't think anything can contest his Varus. Oh, does end up getting double stunned by the Heimerdinger. That is a nasty dinger indeed. But Clear does snap his losing streak, putting Kurum down a further spiral. Kurum should be relatively safe. I mean, by all means, has done a good job to get to this point threshold at 27. So even if he goes 8th, he should be in a good spot, as he currently is in 8th place. As you can see in the top right of your screen, 27 points.
Yeah, most of what Kurum is playing for at this point are the bonus points, right? If you get into those top point thresholds, then you can get an extra points, up to 3 extra points if you finish in the top 2 today. So there is still something left for Kurum to play for, even though he is essentially guaranteed to advance to tomorrow. His spot doesn't feel that good, though. I mean, he's rolled a lot of gold, very similar to Clear, hasn't hit quite as hard as he would want to. So I think Kurum's chances of getting bonus points have gone down dramatically since this game has started.
Yeah, and he's playing a Nivea 1 carry. I like the flexibility of going around the mages versus the evokers, but with so many 1-stars and pairs, it just feels kind of a helpless situation, and Kurum's kind of stuck in no man's land. He has 6 Namis, 2 Silences, 2 Alawis, 2 Lulus. Like, nothing really has commandingly sees the direction that you should lean into in terms of who you should be itemizing, right? Because in some situations, when you hit Nami 3 really fast, we've seen people even use her, again, temporary carry, because we know that Nami's been nerfed so many times. Speaking of the bottom, by the way, Bertasaurus, 56, does have that metabolic boost, but again, he's going to be healing a lot, right? He's been healing for at least 18 HP at this point. So Bert's taking massive amount of damage. Can he pull it back and get into that comeback spot? I'm very curious what he's playing and what his main strategy is now that Deja is not really as reliable, with Pirates Green being the main Mirage variation.
Yeah, it's really hard to say what Bert's situation is without actually checking out the board, because if you're just leaning into a Lost Streak style, playing around a fast 8 or maybe an all-in on this turn 3-5, then it could be totally fine for him to be down at 58 HP, but he also could be in a much worse spot. Okay, so we've got the Dragonmancer emblem slammed and the Morello onto the Anivia, so this wants to be a Volibear line, and the Volibear line is very versatile. You can play for the primary carry Volibear, but you can also play primary carry Anivia with that Dragonmancer emblem going 6 Dragonmancers. Be very interesting to see how Bert decides to play from here. The spot doesn't feel that good, though. No Volibears, no Orns, not that much gold. Items are in an okay spot, but not great. I don't know. I'm very worried about Bert here.
Interesting. I feel like his spot's okay. And actually even 1 Orn, 1 Volibear from being quite good. This is, now that we've seen that he's trying to play Legend, I think that makes a lot more sense. And also, I think he's way healthier than a lot of people would be when they're playing this composition. So I think it's okay, but we have seen that this comp has an Achilles heel. One of them is not hitting Ornn, which is the rare unit to get. And so a lot of times you see people even take Ornn off carousel in an attempt to prepare for it. The second could be itemization. A lot of times your items could be super awkward, and you could be playing for a Nivea carry but get all Volibear items, and vice versa. You could be playing Volibear as the primary legend carry and then get all AP and Nivea items. So if he can navigate past those two obstacles, Bryce, I think Bert's in a really good position, because when this comp gets online, it is so hard to displace it from making that comeback.
Yeah, this is true, but I think that the itemization, he's just really far away from it, right? He's super, super far away from what we would consider the BIS version of Volibear, which is ramping in a Rage Blade, a Bloodthirster for healings, because he doesn't have a healing augment, so he desperately needs the healing item on Volibear, as well as a QSS to get ramping. And then when you primary carry a Nivea, you want healing on her as well, and you typically want a Jeweled Gauntlet, because you get so much base AP from the Dragonmancer spat and from the Dragonmancer trait that you know, if you're going to primary carry the Anivia in the front line, you really do want to have that extra pop of damage. Morello is nice for utility, but the itemization to me screams primary carry Volibear as of right now, but we're very far away from the BIS Volibear components, to say nothing of being far away from the units. So we'll have to see how this one plays out. Bert desperately needs to get into the top 4, top 3 to secure his spot in tomorrow. And coming in as the #1 player in our power rankings, he is not guaranteed.
You know, I think that I'm going to take the other line here. I think that Bert's spot, the more I'm thinking about it, he's been playing Pirates. He got a huge gold inflection just now, and he just got the Gunblade. I think that he can make this happen. Yes, you don't get the JG, but there's also ways that you can get that through Jewel Lotus or the Augment. There's a possibility. Oh my gosh. Is he trying to wait for the Augment and then react off that? He's not even rolling.
It feels like he might just be fast eating and just trying to play around maybe Shyvana carry, right? We've seen the 6 Dragonmancer Shyvana. There's a lot of potential for him here, but the fact that he's not rolling is super interesting. I love that Bert is putting it all on the line in his final tournament game of day 1 like this. He is willing to live on the razor's edge.
I like it. Frozen Heart and the Banshees to make the front line's life difficult. And again, he's okay with losing. He's just trying to kill as many units as possible. And by as many units as possible, I mean he's killing 0 units. Oh dear, this is very difficult to deal with here, but he's at 28 life, goes up to at 30, still has a few lives to give. Let's see what the Augment can present as we take a look at what's happening else in the lobby. Sox taking a pretty heavy loss, now dips into the bot 4. Roll the hunt to get the resets. And here we go, Volibear has appeared, 50 gold to roll. Surely we can come up with something.
Yeah, sure, we can come up with something. A pair of Dejas, but it's Pirates Greed, so I can't imagine he wants to play around that. We have seen Dragonmancer frontline AO Shin as a possibility, so that's definitely something in the back of my mind here. You would need to hit the AO Shin in order to make that happen. I've not seen it played with Aurelion Soul. Okay, we're not going to see it play with Aurelion Soul. We've passed on that. God,
rolling past extra copies of other stuff too, though. No Ornn. Oh my gosh. Talked about this exact situation, and not having Ornn is going to be so difficult because you just lose out on so much stats. So he's going to go for another round 2. Who do we put Thieves Gloves on? Nobody. Puts on Lee Sin. And then we're going to go from there. But now we're in the Ornn waiting room. We rolled 50 gold. At least the equivalent of 50 gold. And we still didn't find the other piece of this legend puzzle.
Yeah, missing the most important unit for this composition. He does not have the legend trait online, so he's not getting that massive boost of ability power and of defensive stats, especially the HP that would come with it. So he does get a win here. That is super important. We need to see if he can find that Ornn to theoretically get stable, but I am still very worried about his spot. Only time will tell. Joining our other bubble player. Oh, no, we're not. Looks like we're going to stay on Bert to see... Oh, never mind. We've hopped on board with Clear. What?
Wait. What is that 3-star unit?
He recombobulated!
Oh my god! Clear recombobulated a Varus 3 into a Talon 3!
And then he
all
recombobulated...
this guy had to do was not go 8th. He put it all on the line!
Yeah, it looks like... What is that on
Talons.
Earth?
Wait, He has a Talon 2 and a Talon. He's playing double trouble Talon.
Yeah,
and he somehow has a Varus 3.
Okay, I don't know what's gonna happen, but this is Woksh. This is Woksh if I've ever seen a Woksh comp in my life.
Well, you won 2 fights so far, and Talon 3, you know, he's very strong if other people don't have CC, so this stage of the game, Talon should still be able to clean up. The only thing is that the rest of this comp is pretty weak, so he's not winning, like, overwhelmingly, but, I mean, my man is on a streak, and Clear has an angle for the top 4. Milala takes a loss. Sox now in 8th place. Bertasaurus with back-to-back wins while healing with Soraka and Metabolic Boost. A lot of players are moving up and down this bubble, but the player under the hot seat, or in the hot seat rather, is Sox that needs to pull himself out from this 8th place deficit.
Yeah, Sox able to get a Zoe, potentially a very impactful unit for him. Zoe is such a trigger for putting the whole composition together if you're playing for mages. He also might just be going for a 3-cost sword, it's hard to say. Looking at the augments, nothing particularly exciting there except for obviously Clear's Recombobulator, which is insane. I would like to see him be able to play around potentially getting healing for that Talon 3, because otherwise it'd be pretty vulnerable. So we're on Guild Flex with Shimmers. Chooses not to make the Itis 2.
Has an opportunity to use his duplicator with Zoe as well if he wants to commit to it, but he's going to roll all of his gold. He's putting it all on the line. He's going to put his eggs in the Zaya basket. Wait, Zaya mages? This is new to me. He's putting items on Zoe. He's trying to carry Zoe.
I mean, this is Sox. For good or for bad, this is what you get with Sox. And one of the things we've been talking about behind the scenes a lot is that this set, in general, has not lended itself to Sox's style of play. He plays very creatively. He likes to be very fluid in the units he puts together. He likes to just play strong combinations of units and not think about kind of a guide-oriented board where it's just like, hey, this comp is these units. He doesn't even think about the game of TFT in terms of comps. The flip side of that is Dragons has not been great as a set mechanic for flexible play, and I think he's really struggled. I don't know if he's going to be able to make this work, because to be honest with you, we haven't seen a lot of board building like this in general this set. How are you feeling about his prospects?
I think his board actually has good bones, but the problem is that it lacks actual meat. So many of the units are 1-star. If you had 2-star... Oh, 2-star Zoe! Okay, that's a good start. You couldn't even hit things like 2-star Silas, though, or 2-star Twitch. Like, those units individually aren't going to swing fights by themselves, but it's the sum of the parts. And that's exactly what guild is. It's supposed to be the army. You're a guild. It's the alliance. And he's not able to get his front line to a good spot. But that Ornn 2 is pretty huge, and he still has a little bit of life to work with. Talon does work his way to the front line. That unit is dead. Here comes the Aushin cast in just a second here. Is that from Bert?
No, it's bossoskills. So we have multiple possible Aushin Dragonmancer players, and this Zoe just doesn't have the damage to get through so much health for that Aushin. Getting a fight win, Sox takes another loss.
It is Bert. Bert's streaking. He was the one playing the Mold Diver, and now he's at 30 HP, making that comeback. He's playing Dragonmancer Aushin, and he pivoted off the legend. And Sox, being one of the most legendary players in North America, needs to find something good. Frozen Heart on Talon. An Archangel... a Shojin possibility. Also, because of that floating sword. Finds a Silas. Okay, so now we're actually starting to get somewhere here.
Yeah, I mean, the items are okay. My fear with this board is damage. Right, Zoe is more of a utility unit. She only does damage with one of her abilities. We've got a Death Blade onto a Talon. We've got a Rage Blade onto a Zaya. It's a cool board. I like the playing around Flex Guild, but I'm struggling to see how this board gets Sox into the top 3, which is what he needs to theoretically be able to advance.
I mean, the damage should be there in terms of overwhelming stats. When you start stacking guild, the concept is that by having so much extra AD, so much extra AP, so much extra attack speed, etc., you just have a lot of damage naturally, because it's almost as if all your units star additional level higher, right? So your 1-stars are now basically hitting like 2-stars and so on and so forth. That's the theory behind it. Whether or not in practice that's going to be the case, going up against people who are hitting their dragons, or in this case, hitting 3-star Talon, which, by the way, 3-star Talon plus 2 2-star Talons. This has just been an absolute chaos of a mid game, and now Clear's gonna go for the back line, and the talent deletes the Zoe instantly. Can Sox clean up enough to stay alive here? It looks like he does. He gets to fight for one last chance, but that last chance is all he gets before he rotates back into Clear. I think the writing is on the wall here, barring in a miraculous series of shots. I don't think Sox will be joining us for day number 2 at the Mid Set Finale.
Yeah, and it's a fitting into Sox's set 7, which started out with a lot of promise, but I think as the set went on and people started to optimize the meta lines, this was just not a great set for truly flexible play, which is not to say we haven't seen it work at times, but I think that Sox's omega flexible style, trying to lean into everything in the game, is giving him put all these different units together and find a way to make it work. I think it's just been really an uphill battle for him for a lot of this set. So it's a fun and kind of representative final board for Sox's set 7, but he is an absolute beast, and even if he goes out in day 1 of the mid set, that is not changing, and we're excited to have him back for more tournaments in 7.5.
No powerful Mirage variation in terms of combat, no problem. Pockygom says, y'all plan everything else. That means Deja's uncontested. Maybe I can go Pirates Deja to stabilize here. Pocky's also very healthy at 47. And he might even just beat Sox's board off the virtue of Deja being that strong.
Oh, not quite.
Super close fight. Could have easily swung the opposite way. Sox avoids 8th place. Looks like Milala also will not be joining us tomorrow for day number 2 with that 8th place. Sox hanging on by just a thread, seeing if he can get this done.
Yeah, there we go. That's our first win. It's the start of the comeback, the journey. If he can win another fight and get another damage item for either his Xayah or Talon, I think that could, start to round out his board a little bit more. And then maybe if he gets another damage item, if he can live long enough until the next neutral round, you never know. This Zoe is crazy strong with the mage trait. Unbelievable itemization. There's so much stats coming out from the guild going up against Kurumx, who's got the mage siphon, and his Nami is stuck back there. Kurumx, your main source of damage.
Well, she's attacking now, thanks to what looked like to be a Daisy summon, but that is a nice wrapped gift from Kurumx to Sox, and much love. Kurumx, again, very much just playing for the points. Just going to probably bottom out here in bot 4, but that's totally okay. He should be joining us for day 2 regardless of what result he got. Take a look at the carousel. Is there anything else? Another guild emblem is what I'm thinking about, but no such luck. What else can he pick up here?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, he's thinking about Last Whisper for either Talon or Xayah, which makes sense. He just needs more damage, I think, for his board, and so that's what he's trying to lean for. No great damage items here. Bertasaurus getting a Chalice, very, very strong. We haven't gotten a check back in on Bertasaurus' spot in a little while. He did lose one fight, but he's been healing so much with Soraka and the Metabolic Augment that he's doing just fine in this game, and he has taken a spot that looked very scary, and he has found a way to make it work. That's what makes Bert such a special player.
84 oh my god.
Going 9.
He can go to 9.
Yeah.
But he's not gonna? Because if he goes to 9 now, it costs 66 gold, 68 gold, which makes sense. It's an off interval. And that gives him enough gold to hit Aushin 2 if it's exactly double Aushin shop. So in his mind, he needs even more money, which, you know what? Not a bad philosophy in TFT and maybe in life.
Yeah, agreed. Going up against Clear in this Talon 3, this will be really interesting to see if the Talon is able to do enough damage to kill this Aushin before the Aushin is able to kill it. Here comes the rain! It's a meaningful amount of damage. There's so much base AP even on the Aushin 1 with the Dragonmancer, but it's just not enough. Too much HP on Clear's side for the Talon 3 and the Nico. But Bird is very comfortable. He's still healing. He heals off Metabolic on this round. He heals off the Soraka. And so, like you said, he feels like he needs to cap out higher, not willing to go all in just yet.
Wow. Pocky going to take out Kurumx. Kurumx out in 7. Sox lives for another round. Inching ever so closely to being able to get to the top 4. But again, top 4 really isn't enough here. If he just gets 5 points, I'm pretty sure Sox is still just going to be on the outside. He needs to aim for kind of where Bert and Pocky are. And at 6 HP, he has 0 margin for error, and Clear is back into his rotation, which is a terrible matchup, considering that a lot of the damage is anchored in the Xayah and the Zoe combination.
Yeah, it's all backline, basically. Talon is going to be nice in the way of supporting.
no.
Is the clear matchup, is there any world in which Sox can survive this?
I mean, the Shadow Assault itself is just going to deal so much damage. And Zaya does end up dying. I think that's the end of Sox. There's just no way Zoe can go infinite in this spot. And that will do it. Sox is out in 6th place. He has been eliminated from the mid-set finale. As Pockygom kind of putting on a clinic and showing you if people are leaving Deja open, that's a very easy 2-star. And look at his augments as well. Nothing particularly outstanding. Only 2nd win as a combat augment. Really showing what you can maximize even if it's not the optimal build. So take a look again at Bertasaurus, a player who we said needed to go top 3, has made it to the top 4, but that puts him in still a precarious situation. He needs to try to get this 3rd to guarantee himself in.
Yeah, and he's in a pretty good spot to be able to do it. He has navigated this so well, was finally able to hit that Ao Shin. We talked about that as his out when he went to level 8. He was able to connect on that, playing around this version of the board, and he's going to have a lot of gold at level 9 here to get a lot stronger. Yasuo 2 is a big spike, Nico 2 is a big spike, and then obviously Ao Shin is the biggest spike. If he gets it, his chances of winning this lobby are so high.
He found Aurelian Soul pair, but that's not it. Not a single Ao Shin has showed up, but he hit Yasuo too. Oh my goodness. Finds a pair, but he doesn't have enough gold to buy it now, even if he finds it. And now, after all of that, did 2-star half his board, but is praying, hoping for a chance to be able to survive here.
Yeah, he didn't move his Zephyr, which is very uncharacteristic mistake of Bird. It does hit a Bard, so it's not completely irrelevant. The Siphon jumps into the backline. The Frozen Heart value is getting onto this Ao Shin 1. Here comes the cast. There's a Siphon in its face, and it has killed basically everything other than the Siphon, and there's just enough left for Bird to be able to clean this up. No problem. He gets a win over Taco Bell, and that's who he needs to beat, too, because Taco Bell now has 11 fewer HP than him. If Taco Bell goes out in 4th place, even if Bert dies the same round, that 3rd place should be enough to submit his spot in tomorrow.
Really subtle detail. That Siphon ate the Soraka. Bert didn't get that plus 2 HP. He's supposed to get 4 per round because of metabolic boost, as well as the Soraka Starcaller healing. I wonder if that HP is going to make that difference whatsoever. Now the next matchup is guaranteed to be clear. He has to just avoid 21 HP loss or 23 HP loss if Soraka gets the cast. We'll see how the positioning does land up. It looks like Clear is just kind of keeping it generic. Gets a nice Zephyr onto the Shioyu. And again, Verse is trying to play a survival game. He doesn't have to win. Just kill as many units as possible. Ao Shin Lightning Rain does come down. Cleans up a lot of the smaller units. And it looks like he should be alive here. Oh! HP in a dream.
That's enough. And does Taco Bell Wi-Fi win this fight? Because if, oh god, Taco Bell is smashing this fight. Very, very scary territory for Bertasaurus here. Oh, it's enough. It's fatal. Dead. I take it all back. Pocky is dead. Bert survives and advances. And immediately after that stressful moment and relief, he hits his Ao Shin 2. Such a big hit for Bert.
Absolutely. Can he play for extra credit here in some possible way? Get extra points? Unlikely, but might as well play it out as Taco Bell Wi-Fi. We saw with that huge trainer board. Very scary indeed. Meanwhile, the man of the moment. We haven't been focusing on him much because ever since he hit Talon 3, it felt like a foregone conclusion. He's joining us for day number 2. But Clear can also make a push for extra points. Trying to dodge a Zephyr. Only going to land on his Pike. And now the Talon's going to jump all the way to Tristana. One shot for 3,000 damage off the Shadow Assault. And that's going to be a dead Taco Bell. Wi-Fi, no signal left. We're going to down just our top 2. Bertasaurus needed a top 3. Got a top 2. Is there any possibility that Bert can play for first here?
I think there is a possibility. The thing about Clear's Talon is that because it doesn't have any healing or any defensive items on it whatsoever, it can absolutely be popped. There is so much base AP on the 6 Dragon Manager version of the Ao Shin 2, plus it has the Jeweled Gauntlet. So if he gets some high roll RNG on the Rainfall, then yeah, a few bullets might be able to actually burst through this. This Shroud is also high impact. There's also a Zephyr in play for Bertasaurus, so this is not over even if it feels like Clear is a little bit of a favorite.
It's true. That's true. The board quality of both these players is hyper concentrated in just a few units with a lot of support. The Dragon Mancers themselves, none of them are particularly pretty powerful. See if Bert can make it happen. A rearrangement of units. The Zephyr onto the Shio Yu. So it looks like Bert's just going to say, I'm going to take the guarantee here instead of trying to chase Talon fruitlessly. Shroud has worn off. Shadow Assault is not going to go onto the Aoshin. So here we go. The second cast right before Bard is able to activate. Oh, kills everything but the Talon. But the second cast? Hold on a second, Bryce. Oh my goodness. And just like that, a single ray of sunshine is breaking through. Can Bert repeat that twice? He's going to win 2 more times.
Oh,
to get this first.
And he's got Bard in his shop, which if because of the way in which the guild trait works, where it's generating extra mana per auto attack, he could theoretically get these Aoshin cast off even earlier in the fight. He could also get some meaningful CC, and at this point in time, I think I would probably trade something on this board. The question is what? He doesn't really want to give up the Jade and the Soraka. He doesn't want to get 6 Dragonmancer, so he might be stuck on the board. Speaking of Bard, Clear winds up with 3 of them. There's going to be a Zephyr Cheese here. Is he going to have a unit in place? He cannot hit the Talon, so Talon is into the back line once again.
Again, but all he wants to do is protect his front line from Shio Yu, so she can't use the Jade
kick.
form. The Lee Sin does stall him. Here we go, the Lightning Rain, but this time it's after the Tempered Fate from the Bard, which I think could make a massive difference in terms of how this fight pans out. And Shio Yu is able to get the chain CC. That's going to do it. Clear. Able to recombobulate his way to a first place and wrap up his mid-set day 1 with a huge push to land in